Should I join a startup or a big company? How do I decide which startup to join? How do I break into tech with no relevant experience? How do I measure my performance without any benchmarks or clear trajectory? And this is a question I asked myself a lot, especially in the earlier years in my career, is how am I doing? Am I even doing a good job? When will this stop feeling like a school project? And when will I actually feel like a real professional? So I think it's such a valid question because most often, the earlier of a startup that you are at, there aren't really any clear benchmarks or trajectory on success metrics on, oh, if you do XYZ thing, then you move to the next level in your role. Like, there is nothing like that because most often than not, there is no HR. So let's say that you're thinking this, right? And you want to ask some feedback from your manager on how am I doing? What can I do better? How do you see my role progressing in the next couple of months or years? Even your manager, they are even wondering how they're doing because maybe it's their first time even managing someone. They don't really know how your career will look like in 1 to 2 next time because quite frankly, the priority is on the business. The priority is how can we make sure that this business is successful versus how can I make sure that Jenny is successful, right? Because contrary to big companies where, there's all these programs set in place to assess performance and career growth, in startups, you're still trying to make sure the startup doesn't die. However, there is a silver lining in this, which is this gives you the opportunity to really craft your role yourself. And I think that is really empowering because most often than not, there are more problems to solve than there are people to solve it. Let's say that you are not currently satisfied with your day-to-day and your scope of work. Do your own personal assessment on what are the problems that the business is facing today and what isn't being addressed. And go address it. Just go do it. Pretty soon over time, you will see yourself and your role evolving because you made those moves, right? Versus waiting for your boss to be like, hey, I want you to do X project now. Like, good job on this next project. And I think also it is important to assess your own personal tolerance of structure. If you find yourself coming back to these questions again and again, and it really bothers you, then maybe this company isn't the right place for you. I think that is a really great thing that you discovered. But I know that wasn't a super straightforward answer, but it's honestly just a little glimpse of what tends to go on at super early startups. And honestly, it's like kind of normal. But just know that it won't be like that forever because the only constant at early stage startups are change. Who knows, in 6 months, you will have all these standardized career growth paths and leveling and all of that good stuff. What the fuck are stocks? And this is a very legit question, my friends, because startup stocks are very confusing. And most often than not, the company doesn't really take the time to really educate you on what your stocks even mean, what are all of those terms and all of the tax implications and the forms you have to submit, all of those things. Like, it is pretty much on you to figure them out. And the thing that I would love very much to tell my younger self is to really take the reins and go deep into educating myself and take this as an opportunity to increase my financial literacy versus waiting for the company to tell you what to do or being afraid of asking questions and looking dumb because you don't know what all these fancy acronyms and terms mean. Like, no one thinks you're dumb. If anything, for you to ask those questions proactively is you trying to do your due diligence to really educate yourself. So to get yourself started, right when you get that job, know these terms and know your numbers. Go ask your HR or boss. You just really want to make sure that you have this information so you can decide what are your next steps. So what kind of stock do you have? Is it ISOs or RSUs or etc.? The tax implications of your type of stock, your cliff and vesting schedule, strike price, 409A, preferred price, how many shares total exist in the company's current valuation. And I know all of these acronyms might just sound like mumbo jumbo, but it is very important that you know what they mean, what's the number for you and for the company, to help you really understand how is the company currently doing and what are your shares worth. How much would it be for you to exercise, and the tax implications should you exercise or sell at any given time. The other thing that I would tell to myself is to talk to friends and coworkers earlier, because most often than not, there is always a resource imbalance, right? Personally, for me, I didn't know anything about stocks, but obviously that is not official financial advice. So go to Google and find like a tax/early employee stock strategist. I'm currently working with one, and literally it is the best, and they partner with you and they basically help you figure out what you should be doing with your stock. And if you choose not to exercise and actually wait, at least you're being intentional about it, because you have done the research, you've crunched the numbers, assessed your personal financial situation, and decided that the risk is too great. The other thing I would tell myself is to not think that if I can't exercise all of my stocks or options, then I can't exercise any. And at the end of the day, the earlier you exercise, the more money you may save with taxes and etc. And the last thing I would say is that I feel like money can cause a lot of fear and anxiety for some of us, right? Depending on your personal financial circumstances. I have found that being prepared and being educated and being informed really helps ease that fear and anxiety. So take the time to learn and really understand and actually empower yourself to increase and elevate your financial literacy, because you will not regret it. And obviously, I am not a stock expert, but there are a ton of great resources out there. So I will link a Notion doc in the description with some of the greatest resources that I've personally read and referenced. Thanks so much for watching. I really just want to help shed some light into the early employee experience and not make tech and startups such an exclusive thing. So if there's anything else that you're curious or wondering about, please let me know down in the comments. Bye.